Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who is currently on a highway to the Thunder Zone. It's John Levingood.
Highway to the Thunder Zone.
Yeah, we're driving to the Thunder Zone.
The Thunder Zone. That's just our legally safe rip on Kenny Loggins there.
And the only reason I did that was so I watched this movie with my wife, Megan, who normally does the show with us a lot. She's on the Jennifer's Body episode you should listen to that we did. But as we were watching, she just started singing Highway to the Thunder Zone. She knows it's Danger Zone. But it's just the same thing. You have the Maverick. Oh, brother, I just said the Maverick from Top Gun.
Like Maverick, like Mel Gibson.
In this mail, brother.
The Thunderdome.
The Dallas Mavericks. So you have a driver who pulls up on a motorcycle on call. Like, where's this driver at? Then from around the corner, he comes around.
Shows up.
He has he's kind of rough around the edges. He doesn't take order too well. He has a temper. But then he also has Rowdy Burns is kind of like his Iceman. And then Russ Wheeler, played by Cary Ells, is just all the other jerks in there. He's like a combination of when Iceman was bad and then when Iceman was good. And it's just sort of like a young buck. It's like Cocktail, too, actually. A young bartender learns the... All right, well, never mind. But yeah, she started singing that song, and it just made me laugh. So now I've been singing Highway to the Thunder Zone a lot. And I'm excited, John, because you and I talk about movies when we're not on this podcast. We message each other, or we're on the phone, or we talk movies. We have never said a single word to each other, aside from a sentence each.
That's true. Normally, we basically create spoilers for each other's ideas that we're going to discuss on the podcast for each other, just accidentally. And somehow, approaching, you know why? All right. We had 2 laps in the Race Pod series, right? And it's all fun and games. Everyone thinks that, they got this race, in the bag. But now we're approaching this is lap 3.
Yep, lap 3.
This is the 3rd Race Pod, lap 3. And now, maybe one of us is in the lead and the other is getting a little nervous. And now it's all game faces. Just getting game face. And the other thing is that I think that we're thinking more and more and more about the past race movies. Mm-hmm. And with each Race Pod we do, we're just swelling with these Race Pod thoughts. And I think that I'm starting to covet them. And it was just St. Paddy's Day, like Leprechaun Gold. I don't want to share these ideas with you because I want to win. I want to be ahead in lap 4.
Oh, so when we go into Ford versus Ferrari, you want to have a lap lead on me.
Right.
Can I ask?
Right now, I'm drafting you, but you know my game. So you'd think the ad was on me for drafting you, and I'm bumper kissing you, and I'm going to loop around you. But you know my habits. You're like, I know John always passes on the outside, even though no one does that. So I'm just going to sandwich him into the walls.
You're rubbing.
It's like, he just slammed into me. No, it wasn't a slam. It wasn't a hit. It was a rub. Yeah. And that's racing.
I know this guy is going to take the outside. Oh, I put on special tires for you. Oh, sweet. So
that's right.
I was watching this movie, and there's one thing I really want to discuss with you, and that is Russ Wheeler, played by Cary Ells. He's brought in to be a replacement driver for Cole Trickle, because Cole Trickle and Rowdy Burns smashed into each other. There's an accident. Rowdy drives through it. Cole drives through it. They whap each other. Michael Rooker gets a brain aneurysm. Tom Cruise is okay. He's back to race, but he's scared. He's like Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights. In comes Cary Ells, Russ Wheeler. He has the tiniest circular sunglasses I have ever seen in my life.
He stole them from Gary Oldman Gary Oldman stole them from him.
Wow.
For Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Do you think Gary Oldman was watching Days of Thunder? And when he got cast in Dracula, he hadn't even thought about it. But when he heard Cary Ells was cast, he went, whoa, give me the glasses, but make them a little bigger.
Not only that, I think that when Ethan Hawke overheard this conversation, he made sure that Reality Bites came out 1 year before Dracula so that he could wear those glasses.
Wow.
The 90s, what was it with the 90s and these glasses? More the 90s. This movie is just 1990?
Yeah, 90.
Even. So, but the 90s and these glasses.
What was this movie?
This movie brought him in. Cary was in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, that's right.
He rounded it back.
So I have a question for you. Those glasses, when you step outside and your pupils get small, those glasses, were they bigger than your small pupil?
Slightly.
Did they block any sun?
I don't think they block much of any sun unless you are looking directly at the sun.
and then it only gets a little bit.
Right.
It's essentially each of those lenses are the size of a couscous.
They are contact lenses with frames.
But now Russ Wheeler, they're on the same team, but Russ, he's bumping Cole Trickle a lot. This entire film is about people crashing into each other.
There's a lot of it. There really is.
Why is Cole Trickle so angry at Russ Wheeler?
Well,
we're on
think
Skype right now. I just want you guys to know, we're on Skype. And when I asked John that question, you'll have a very thoughtful and intelligent answer. But the look on your face, you went, like you did a head tilt. I've never seen you do that. In our 5-year history of this, I've never seen you go.
So in this movie, right, we establish that Tom Cruise, Cole Trickle, he's a natural racer, right? Just a demon behind the wheel, but he had never actually been in a NASCAR race with other vehicles. He said he just did sprints, which I assume are like 10-second car things with stock cars, or I'm sorry, they said Indy cars, right? And so I'm just thinking that the combination, because we see how he reacts when Michael Rooker is what was it, brushing him?
Yeah.
Brushing him.
Uh-huh.
Like he's just freaking out, man. Like he's getting slammed into. So he's never fully gotten used to that. On top of the fact that he's not used to having other cars around. He's not used to having to correct his steering when he's slamming into things. He's young and he's not full on like mid to late 90s Tom Cruise arrogant. He's arrogant with humility.
Yeah.
But I think because of that, he gets rattled and scared more easily. He's not your Jack Reacher who gets punched square in the face and doesn't flinch and then he drops 18 people in 2 seconds.
He has a little bit of Paul Walker in him because Paul Walker's so good at being freaked out.
Early Paul Walker too. But I mean running scared Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Right?
Because he was sort of vulnerable in this movie, was he not, Cruise? He was made to look dumb on a couple occasions.
I agree. No. So as we're watching this, it's interesting. Like I found myself really enjoying meeting Tom Cruise's character, Cole Trickle, and he does his drive, but it's like he doesn't ooze arrogance. It's more like he oozes confidence.
Yeah, because he is he's in sprint car racing, which is, do you know those little cars that have the big hoods on them and they go around kind of dirt, short oval tracks?
You're making this up.
No. So they're like high-powered race cars designed primarily for the purpose of running on short, oval, or circular dirt or paved tracks. So if you look at them, they're kind of winged. So when you look at, when they show wipeout videos of these cars, they always show them.
I feel like this is the made-up story of what Crawl advanced to after he won the tractor race in Son-in-Law.
No, but yeah, so I mean, yeah, sorry, but I guess he's out of his league. He doesn't want to admit it in this, and that's what I liked most about. So my favorite scene in this movie is when he admits to Robert Duvall he knows nothing
at the bar.
Yeah. Because you can see a young hotshot, like you said, oozing confidence, but he doesn't have any confidence. So then that results in him yelling about Johnson rods on NASCARs, even though there are no Johnson rods.
Johnson rods.
The tires need fixing. What about the tires? They're too loose. They're loose on what? It feels loose.
Right? Feels loose.
Yeah. But I like that scene. He finally admits that he doesn't know. But I don't think that's explored enough.
Yeah, and that seemed tough for him. It's interesting too, right? Because in our first 2 laps, we're doing Driven with our Joe Tonto and our Jimmy Bly. We did a Rush with our James Hunt and our Niki Lauda. And while James Hunt wasn't an ace when it came to car knowledge, he clearly knew just enough to get by without being the true mental technician of it. But then so we see these other 2 race movies, and all the guys know something intimately quite much about the cars. And this guy, he's the opposite of Niki Lauda. Niki Lauda was joking how his mother blessed him with a great ass. And when his ass is in a car seat, he can feel everything that's wrong with it with every movement through his ass.
Yeah.
It's like Tom Cruise must be totally assless in this then. Because he doesn't understand anything.
Because when he does things Duvall's way, Harry Hogue, it's all Duvall was right. So was it all bluster of Trickle? What if they listened to Trickle? Would he have been in a lot of trouble?
Probably. He crashed more cars. Dude, he was turning those cars into sun-stroked silly putty. I mean, the wheels, I mean, the tires.
Oh, you know how so interesting you say that. And I sorry to interrupt. I just had a quick thought. NASCAR. I like in this movie they're like NASCAR says. I'm like, who is NASCAR? Like, who is this organization? But they gave them basically NASCAR gave them everything. So they supplied them with cars. Hendrix Motorsports supplied them with cars. NASCAR gave them drivers. Basically, they wanted to have this movie show that they wanted to get rid of their redneck image and that these cars are very sophisticated. So what does this movie do? They build the car that Robert Duvall builds in a barn. Then they show a bunch of Confederate flags and people playing bumper.
I was going to comment on that.
They show tons of bumpers, right? People whapping into each other. Every race is basically bumper cars. So NASCAR was really pissed off at this movie, and they had to do a gag order on a lot of the racers to not speak terribly of it. But later on, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said it brought a lot of attention to the sport. He was more positive about it. But there were racers like Dale Earnhardt who was like, this isn't bumper cars. Like, you take all the skill out of it. He's like, you go into the wall, you're not getting off the wall. Your tires are done. So it's interesting that they got full cooperation from NASCAR, but then NASCAR did not really like the finished product. If you were NASCAR, so when you go out, you hand people your business card, John, it says NASCAR. Would you be happy with this movie?
Boy, my gut answer is no. But I am pleased, though, in the one respect that I think they succeeded in what NASCAR was hoping was the general disposition of the drivers. Because the drivers we focus on are the antithesis of rednecks.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Cole's you know what's interesting, though? He's from California. Oh, a Yankee. And you're like, what? So he's from California, and then you have Michael Rooker, who has a beautiful home, a nice boat. How awesome is it? Like, we've worked with Rooker. Isn't it cool to see him in movies like this with Tom Cruise? Doesn't that make you happy?
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I like Rooker's older roles, even though they aren't as magnificent. I like his older roles more, like, the Tombstone, I like his older roles more.
He has a solid top 5, Michael Rooker.
Slither.
Yep.
But, I mean, not that was older, but, it's like a lot of his stuff now, they seem to be very supporting roles.
Mm-hmm.
And, like even in The Walking Dead, everyone knew about him, but that had 8 people billed before him.
Merle
Dixon.
But no, I guess you're right, though. Going back to that, the characters, Russ Wheeler was kind of like a playboy type, right? With his glasses and his model girlfriend. So I guess they built the drivers as the opposite of that.
And even though Cole didn't know anything about cars, they all expressed themselves well, if not articulately or thoughtfully with regard to each other and their situations. I don't know, they were pretty gathered. Like, they all seemed well educated in one way or another. Even though Cole was a little rougher around the edges, he was also the youngest of these drivers, probably.
It's interesting with the 3 movies we've watched. You have the relationship between Hunt and Lauda, where they went from, not enemies, but they went from, what's the word? Frenemies, right? And then you had Driven, where Tonto comes in. He becomes best friends with Kip, right? And then
Jimmy Bly, yeah.
Jimmy Bly. And then they start hanging out with Till Schweiger. They all become friends. At the end, they're just high-fiving each other.
Yeah.
And then in this film, well, Cary Elwes gets shoved off, but you have Rooker and Cole. They become friends. It's a really interesting, in these race movies, is Cary Elwes the antagonist in this movie, or is he just a brat?
I think that he is an antagonist for a bit. But he's not the third act antagonist that you never knew was going to be the antagonist. He's really a second act antagonist. The true antagonist in this movie is just
Cole himself.
Right. Cole getting over himself and learning to work